Hello guys, and welcome back to Feed the Beast Horizons. First of all, apologies, it has been a week or so since I last uploaded a video, but hopefully now I will have more time to get back on track with things. But in the time that I have been away, I have been reading the comments and messages that you guys have been sending me regarding the little experiments and things that I was trying to do in the last video. So I'm going to try and put some of those things into practice. Now, a big appreciation goes out to all you guys who have sent me messages and left comments because your information has been invaluable. I apologise if I don't give you credit by name because I don't have my list in front of me and I've had so many good suggestions. I'll try and make sure that I've got my list for future videos, but you guys know who you are. It's the same sort of 4 or 5 of you that always give me really good information on and after every single video. So the first thing I want to say, a big thank you to whoever it was who told me how to edit the random things config file so that this book no longer crashes when I get to page 13. So brilliant. No longer going to have Horizons crashing on this book. That is brilliant. So a few of the things that I was trying to do on the previous video, one of the things was build an AC electric engine. Now that seemed like it was going to be the answer to my problems, but it turns out that the shaft core is actually quite difficult to magnetize, and I've been given various other suggestions on ways to power my devices without having to use such big and powerful engines. Now, one of the first things that I wanted to do was build a fan to harvest and replant my crops. Now, looking in the book for Rotary Craft, what it actually tells me under farm machines, whenever I can find it, it says the fan harvesting speed is 1024 rads per second. Now, somebody actually said that to harvest an area 3 wide by 9 long, which this is, that a single steam engine is enough to power it. So that doesn't seem like it should be right because the steam engine only outputs 512 rads and we need 1024 rads, but I'm going to try it anyway. I'm going to build a fan and place it here. I'm going to attach a single steam engine to it. If that doesn't work, we can later on change it and put a gearbox in. A gearbox is something that I'm going to have to build at some point anyway. The only problem is I don't really have an engine powerful enough to power a gearbox. Someone else has suggested that a gearbox, I need a grinder to provide oil for the gearbox, and I don't really have an engine strong enough to power the grinder. Now, someone has suggested that I can make a grinder setup using 4 DC electric engines and a gearbox. Now, obviously, that gearbox is going to be powering the grinder, and that grinder is also going to be supplying oil back to its own gearbox. So let's just hope that it produces more oil than it uses. Also, in the last video, I wanted to get the device put together that cuts down trees, and someone's also suggested to me that that can be accomplished with a steam engine, an industrial coil, and a gold flywheel. So we'll give that a go if we get time as well, which hopefully I will. Ars Magica I probably won't get to cover until the next video because I need to find an essence pool or a mana pool, and I haven't had a scout around to find one yet. There probably is one close by, but I haven't had a real good look. So that's something that I will do on the next video. So first things first, let's build the one thing that we haven't built yet, which will be the fan itself. So you know the rule I usually do. If it's something I haven't yet built, I will try and build one anyway. So it's very simple to build with the looks of things. It's just some oak wooden planks, an impeller, a shaft unit, and a couple of base panels. Well, that's easy enough. For once, do we have base panels? Yes, I have 2 base panels and a shaft unit, and I have the planks. That's brilliant. So the only thing I am missing is the impeller. So the impeller was one in the middle. There we go. That gives us our steel gears, and then 1 steel gear surrounded by steel ingots should give us our impeller, and indeed it does. And then over to the work table. Impeller in the centre, shaft unit at the bottom, base panel either side, and then some oak planks. There we go. We actually have our fan. So they're nice and easy to build. So let's pop the fan down right here. That's facing the wrong direction. Is it or isn't it? Oh, I can't tell now. I assume that's got to be the front of the fan. Let's give it a whack with a screwdriver. Now green, yes, there we go, because we can see that the blue line is how far it's going to reach. So let's see if this will work with a steam engine. Now, I'm going to try and power the get water into the steam engine from this setup over here. There should hopefully be enough pressure in there to get water into the steam engine. So I'm going to be spawning these bits in because we've built them before, so I don't really need to worry about anything else. So I'm going to put the steam engine directly behind it. Like I said, if it turns out that this doesn't work, we can always move. I've actually destroyed another big piece of this hillside. So if it doesn't work, we can move the engine further back and put a gearbox in between to see if that works. So I need some liquid pipe. That's a tank. Rotary craft liquid pipe. That's what I need. Let's get a stack of those. And just cheating because it's quicker. Okay. It helps if the pipes are connected. Let's go from the back. Trying to make it as direct a route as possible here. So that should connect up and start getting us some liquid into our engine. We're also going to need a cooling fin, of course, because we know how these things go. What I am going to do, actually, and I've just had a thought about this, so there's going to be a slight change of plan here. I'm going to take a clutch. What I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to destroy that engine. Well, not destroy it, but remove it, certainly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the engine on this block here. No, it's facing the wrong way again, so good old screwdriver whack. And we are going to do this. That way, at least I've got a method of being able to turn the fan on and off. So we're going to put the cooling fin on top of the engine. We're going to take the clutch and put that in here. It's facing the wrong way. Green is input, red is output. Is that correct? Red is output. So green is input, red is output. So that should work fine. That's going to need a lever so that we can turn it off and on. Hopefully we should have already got some water in the engine. It's full already. This shows you how much pressure there is in there. So we're going to dig a hole out. We're going to use lava because that seems to work best. Let's pick the dirt up. I am going to spawn in a lava bucket. There we go. So what we're going to do is put in the lava and a dirt block there just to stop it getting all over us. Let's get rid of the bucket. So that should be enough to get that steam engine powered. Now obviously I don't have a system to collect the crops that get blown up by the fan, but we're going to see if this works. Like I said, it may be a case that we actually have to use a gearbox. So let's see if that works. Let's just keep our eye on the engine. It should be starting to heat up. It is getting some heat in there. It'll take a little while. So the plan, if this doesn't work, is I'm going to use this space here and I'm going to build a setup so that I can have a grinder and a gearbox and the 4 DC electric engines to power the grinder. And then hopefully that grinder will be able to produce enough oil to go into its own gearbox and also to go into the gearbox that we'll need to add here. Now, we only need to double the speed of the steam engine. That's providing this doesn't work. If we need to double the speed of the steam engine, a simple 2-to-1 gear ratio will sort that out. So it's not going to be complicated. We just move the whole thing back one and throw a gearbox in. So that'll work out quite nicely. And what I would do is I would put the clutch between the engine and the gearbox, because that means when I turn it off, we would essentially be turning off any power to the gearbox, and the gearbox wouldn't need lubricating. So the engine's going, the clutch is off, we're going to turn the clutch on, the clutch is on. Well, the fan is definitely going, there's no argument about that. Let's use our little device here. So it's telling us that it is has a range of 22 meters. Well, that's fine. It's only getting 512 rads, which we expected. It doesn't seem to be blowing anything at the moment that I can see. It's certainly having an effect on me. I'm walking towards the fan and it's definitely moving me backwards. Not at a great rate, but it is definitely moving me backwards. I'm not touching the keys now, and I am moving backwards. So, it partially works. Now, the other question is, are any of these crops actually ready for harvest? That could be the other issue. I think I just destroyed that one, didn't I? Yeah. Because I keep forgetting I should... Is it right? No, it's just left click destroys. Okay, it's getting dark. Let's hit all the right buttons. So, it certainly doesn't look like it's harvesting. So, I guess that piece of information wasn't quite as accurate as it should have been. It's certainly not doing anything to these crops. And I know some of these crops haven't fully grown. Yeah, some of these crops haven't fully grown. So, okay, we're going to turn off the clutch. We are going to get ourselves a dirt block. And what I'm going to do is just dig that out. And now I haven't got my dirt block in the right slot. There we go. Snuff the lava out to snuff the engine out. So we're going to have to move this little setup back one. So we can do that. So what I'm going to do is take my pick. And I'm going to start breaking some of this stuff here. Now I haven't built a gearbox. Haven't built a gearbox before either. So that's something that we're going to have to do. So we need to bring this back one further for the engine. The engine is going to be going on this block here now. Let's get it facing in the right direction. So this will be our clutch. So let's put the clutch in place. Now the reason as I said before, the reason I'm putting the clutch first is if the gearbox goes here, if I want to turn the system off, by turning off the clutch, then there'll be nothing going into the gearbox, and the gearbox shouldn't then need any lubrication. That's the plan anyway. So let's just fill that back in. We've got water already going into the engine, which is good. So we'll have a switch by the clutch. We need our cooling fin, of course. That can go on top of that. So the next thing to make is a gearbox, because that's something that I haven't yet produced. So let's go and have a look at gearboxes. At least I don't think I've built one before. So what do we need to do for a gearbox? Okay, so we need... So there are different types of gear we can use, just like on flywheels. We don't want to build a wooden one or a stone one. That seems too simple. We want to at least build one of these. So we need a mount. Now, we need a mount, and we need... Let's wait for it to come back up. Gear unit. Okay. Let's get up here. So, first of all, I know we've built a mount before, and I can't remember how we built them. Okay, so some steel ingots and a base panel, and I don't have a base panel currently, and once again, it has changed the shortcut key because it did an update. And that's why it's shuffling everything around, most annoyingly. Okay, so first things first, let us go and build some base plates, because you never seem to have enough of these. There we go, and already I've forgotten one base plate and some steel ingots. Now again, I don't think it's counted as a machine, so it should be buildable in a normal crafting table. There we go. And that's interesting. It looks like we can actually build armor out of the steel as well. But that's part of metallurgy. Okay, that's quite interesting. At least we know we can do that. Okay, so we've got our mounts. Now how do we build a gear unit? It was one of those, wasn't it? It was a 2x gear unit. And that is basically 2 steel gears and 2 shaft units. Well, I've already got the 2 steel gears. So let's make some shaft units. And what was that configuration again? The 2 gears in the top. Okay, like that. So the 2 gears and then the shaft units there. And oh no, of course I'm doing this in the wrong table again, because this isn't the finished product. It's only the finished product that goes in the work table. So there we go, there's our 2 times gear unit, and then that comes over here and should go together like so, gives us a gearbox. Now that's a 2-to-1 ratio gearbox. So can we change them, or do different ratio gearboxes require... Right, okay, so it does require different gear units. Okay, fine, that makes sense. So we've got our 2-to-1 ratio gearbox. So let's go and pop that in place. Now obviously it will require lubrication. Green is in, red is out. So make sure it's going in the right direction. Just right click on it. It does have a way of putting lubricant in manually. We can do that with buckets with the looks of things. Lubricant bucket. So it does exist as an item. So what I'm going to do for the time being is I'm going to put some in, just literally so we can get it working and test to see if it works. And then if it works, we know we can then build our grinder and hopefully pipe the lubricant in. So this is cheating a little bit because I haven't built a... This is cheating a little bit because I haven't actually built a grinder yet. But we've got plenty of canola seeds, and this is just the manual way of doing it. I suppose you could build a grinder and then just manually do this with buckets. I'm literally just doing this to see if it is going to work. I'd feel a bit more comfortable if it were closer to being full. So I'm just going to put as many buckets in as I can. I'll just do this last one. That's full enough. Let's just get rid of all these empty buckets. Okay, so we now have our gearbox. So, the next thing we're going to need is lava. Should have had this done before, actually, so that's my bad. We're going to need a dirt block, which we will have, because we're going to dig one up. There we go. So, what we want to do is we want to take our bucket of lava and put it in there. And then we want to take our dirt block and put that in there. So, we'll wait for that to power up. We can actually see the lubricant in there, which is quite nice. Now, my only concern with gearboxes is the ratio. Does the default ratio of a gearbox convert torque to speed or speed to torque? So that's an interesting topic. Change the ratio of torque to speed. Reduction gears increase the torque and decrease... reduction gears increase the torque and decrease the speed. Acceleration gears do the opposite. So we need acceleration gears. So how do we know if it's an acceleration gear or a reduction gear? Because it doesn't actually say. There we go. It has mode. Now how do we change that? Let's get rid of this dirt block because that's getting in the way. Is it a shift right click thing? No power is being received. Does tell me mode is torque. Can we change that and how? Can't actually see where it says. Okay. Well, we don't want torque. We actually want speed. Is it just a case of turning it around, maybe? No, because it's still set to torque. Okay, green is input, red is output. The engine's... Is the engine running? The engine says it actually has no water in there. Which is strange, because it really should. The water's definitely connected up. There should definitely be enough pressure in there for the engine to be receiving some water. It's never easy, is it? Okay, I'm going to go and have a quick look and see if I can work out how to change the ratio of that gearbox, and I will be back shortly. Okay guys, well I am back and I've done a couple of things. I'm just about to do one more by making it daylight again. So for some reason this pipe hadn't connected up to the back of the engine. I just destroyed a couple of blocks, replanted it, and that's fine. The engine is now working. And I've now worked out how to change this from torque to speed. It's the same way that we had to do with one of the other things over there. You need to shift and right click with the screwdriver. It doesn't look like it's actually done anything, but if we right click now, it has speed. So I'm going to flick the switch, turn on the clutch, and bugger all is happening because the clutch is facing the wrong way. So green is input, red is output. That should work. There we go. So if we use this thing now, we are receiving 1024 rads. Brilliant. So we're now getting the right amount of speed. So that should start to uproot these crops. Nothing seems to be happening yet. Now let's just check one more thing on the fan. Just make sure we've got all the details correct. So it requires a power of 1 kilowatt and needs 1024 rads. Well, it must have a kilowatt, surely. Let's just have a look. What's it got coming in? Yeah, it's got 16 kilowatts coming in. So it's got more than enough power and it has enough speed. That should actually now be working. Not sure why it isn't. Doesn't seem to have an interface. Maybe these crops just aren't big enough. Or maybe it doesn't work on Pam's Harvest Crest items, which is a possibility. So I'm going to have to try some different crops in there. So at least we now... Have we got water coming out of all of these? Yeah, we have. At least now we know that this works, but what we're going to have to do here is add lubricant to this, which means we're going to need to build a grinder. Now that grinder is also going to need its own gearbox setup, and we're going to have to work out some way of piping the liquid lubricant around and also storing it. So what we're going to have to do is build a grinder. Now, I'm probably going to do that in the next video, to be quite honest, but at least we've got this little setup working here now. Now I know how to build a gearbox and know how to make different ratios. You make different ratios by actually using different numbers of gears in the setup. So if we just actually look here, we used a 2x gear unit, which was 2 gears and 2 shafts. And then obviously there's a 4x gear unit, which is using 2 2x gear units, and then I guess an 8 is using, oh, it's a 4 and a 2, and then a 16 is using an 8 and a 2. And then obviously we've got different types. We've got stone, we've got diamond, we've got bedrock, which are the strongest, which we don't really need at the moment. There's no damage to that at all. So at least we know how to get that going. The engine shouldn't be overheating. Engine is doing just fine. I'm going to turn this off for the time being. I'm going to let those crops grow a little bit more first and make sure they're working. And then what I'll try is, if this doesn't work, I'm going to dig these crops up manually, and I'll just try planting some wheat, something basic like that. So what you should expect to see from me in the next couple of videos, I'm going to get this working. I am going to build a grinder and try and get an automated setup for that. I might even use that as an excuse to investigate piping objects around. So I've got lots of canola seeds. I can have a chest with canola seeds and pipe those canola seeds into the grinder, and then the lubricant can be pumped into the gearboxes or storage tanks. And we can also then look at an automated system where we take the canola seeds that get harvested and put them in the system to go back round into the grinder. So that's one thing that we're going to be doing. I also want to build that machine that chops down trees, because someone said I can power it using a steam engine, an industrial coil, and a golden flywheel. So I give that a go. And also I want to start having a look at Ars Magica. Now somebody said in order to do that I need to find a mana pool or an essence pool, which apparently in older versions just used to look like lakes. But now are sorry, they used to just look like small individual squares of water, but apparently can now be lake size. There's a village over here to the south, interestingly enough. And obviously lots of stuff down there where the chunks have decided they're not going to load in. So we've got a little village over here. I'm not going to go in there and start messing around. I was just having a quick scout just to see if it was possible to see one of those mana pools or essence pools. I'm not sure if they appear in a particular biome. So if they do, let me know. Where should I be looking? Should I be looking for a specific biome for them, or can they spawn anywhere? Are they on the surface or are they underground? So apparently that's the first step in the Ars Magica mod, which is basically taking a blank vanilla book, putting it in a frame, and then putting that frame above one of these pools. What's that we have down there? That looks interesting. What's this? Ah, could that be it? Let's try this. Let's try this. I'm just going to actually, let's take this stone and just do this so we can... I don't know how much above it we have to put. I'm not even sure if that is the right block, to be honest. I'm going to get a frame. And I'm going to get a book. No need to make those. We all know how to make frames and books. So that's a blank vanilla book. So we're going to put the frame there for a start. Obviously I'm in creative mode, so it hasn't taken that out of my inventory. Ah, there we go. It's doing stuff. So this is the correct type of pool. Well, that was lucky. At least it didn't take too much time to go around and find that. Let's just take things out of creative mode so it doesn't break. And there we go. Something's definitely happened there. So if I give that a whack, I now have an arcane compendium. Brilliant. We have our first item from Ars Magica. Fantastic. Okay, so I don't want to get into that today. As excited as it is, I think I need to try and find my way back to the base. I do really miss not having the waypoints mod or the minimap mod, and I do often get lost. I think it's over here somewhere. I could be wrong. Probably heading in completely the opposite direction. Ah, no, there we are. It's one of the advantages of chunks not loading in. It does often make it easier to find your way around. And of course we can hear the sprinklers and see the farms. Doesn't look like any of these have grown anymore. Well, one final check. We'll just flick the switch. See if anything happens. I'm going to put this book somewhere safe for the time being. It feels like it should be kept in some sort of lead-lined room. But at least we have made a start. We're going to ignore the fact that chunks don't seem to be loading in and standing in this direction. So you can't see where they haven't. Nope, still nothing happening. So maybe we need different crops. Again, if it's something I'm doing wrong there, by all means, please let me know. We are definitely using... let's just double check that. Yep, it's 1,024 radians per second. It should certainly be outputting enough speed to at least uproot some of the crops. Maybe it just doesn't work with Pam's Harvest Craft. So, there we go, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope that at least some of you have made some interesting discoveries and learnt something useful from this video. I certainly have. I've worked out a few bits and pieces. So, again, keep your suggestions coming, and we'll hopefully get this up and running as a viable self-replenishing farm. So, thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.